the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on a Tuesday afternoon, and of course, just wait a little bit and something might change when it comes to college athletics. And in fact, today, after what I thought the SEC kind of in a very quiet, maybe not so this is what's going to happen way, the Big Ten has now come down with their statement. Craig Smoak with me, David Craig, 365 Sports, and the NFL players going back to college. Here is what the Big Ten just released a statement. The reports from earlier today that they are not going to let that happen. And there is the statement from the Big Ten. Again, this just came down as the Big Ten Conference announced today a unanimous adoption of a conference rule to prohibit football players who have signed a professional contract, were on a professional roster at any point, or declared for the NFL draft as underclassmen without withdrawing from maintaining eligibility for athletic competition at a conference institution. That's what we've seen. I don't know if that affects those who have already done this, schools who have signed players or not sure what it does there. But Craig Smoak, at least the Big Ten came down and said, nope, we're not going to let this happen.
Yeah, I mean, hello, everybody. Good to be with you as always. R.I.P. Dolly Parton. I want to say that first and foremost. That's top of mind with the news this afternoon, and a much bigger deal than this actually is. But we are here to talk college football, so let's get into it. And, yeah, there's actually some clarity on what this means for certain guys. If you see certain reporters who have come around on specifics like Kellen Wyatt and Stephen Daly at Indiana and Trent Hendrick now at UCLA, their specific situations, people have already kind of looked at those and determined that all those guys are probably going to still be available to play. But, yeah, the Big Ten has come out with their statement, and they've made it very clear that they are against former NFL players, and that's the thing, is the former NFL player part is what does that mean exactly? Because there are some specifics here. It's not that you just went and you attended a mini camp. If that's all you did, you technically, even under the Big Ten rules, are allowed to come back to college football. If you signed a contract of any sort, then you would not be allowed to. And there's other things like that that are outlined in what they're trying to get done and what most everybody else is going to follow suit and attempt to do as well. The problem you run into is, what do you think immediately happened when they put out this statement and when people started talking about specifics about what would count and what would not count?
There was some sort of injunction lawsuit.
Well, there's not a lawsuit this quickly.
Yeah.
No, there was somebody on Twitter who said, well, this is going to set up lawsuits because there's going to be this, that, and the other that's going to occur, because obviously they can't respond in 5 minutes. But to go ahead and say, no, this is now what's going to probably happen, get ready for that. Embrace yourselves for the legal responses from the players. So I'm glad the Big Ten came out and said what they said. I'm glad that they're putting their foot down as best they can and making it known they're not open to just opening the doors all the way and further turning this into a big blob of gray when it comes to what college athletics and college athletes actually are. We've seen some scuttlebutt that the Big 12 is discussing similar, ACC, and we know the SEC's talking about it, but Lane Kiffin was on McAfee earlier today, doubling and tripling down on why they're doing nothing wrong and why they'll continue to do what they're doing. And there's a lot of anonymous voices in the SEC that are voicing their displeasure. And meanwhile, you see other little quotes and reports here that one SEC coach says, well, if they're going to go get a guy, well, why don't we go get a guy? So I think there's still a lot to be determined here, but it is good that the conferences are starting to try to just take the bull by the horns as best they can. It's just a matter of how much, like, this statement's great. The Big 12 puts out a statement, that's great. The SEC last night, when they were the first to put out a statement, I felt like that was really kind of toothless and not blaming them for it being that way. I just feel like
they were trying to
wanted
avoid
to say
a lawsuit.
something.
They were trying to avoid immediately a lawsuit.
Yeah, they wanted to say something, but they couldn't really say anything too forceful. So, like, they couldn't threaten what?
But why not?
Because I don't think they really know what they can do. Like, are you going to – so in your statement last night, you're going to be like –
you said toothless. I agree with you, but the Big Ten statement isn't toothless, is what I'm saying, is why didn't the SEC lead the way last night?
Well, I think the Big Tens might be toothless as well because there's no proof that they're going to be able to enforce any of this. But I think the fact that they've now come back around and they're putting theirs out as well, I think is I guess what I was trying to say is it's a positive sign that these conferences are standing up. I just felt like when the SEC released their statement last night, it didn't really change anything. It was like, we don't like this and we don't want this to happen. And that's all it was. The Big Ten's actually banning NFL players, officially passing unanimous faculty rep approval and their specific language. So that's a major difference in what happened last night.
That's what I'm saying. They were specifically saying no more, whether it gets sued or not, where the SEC kind of tap danced.
And I don't mean toothless as in that's like a negative against the SEC. I just meant that they put out a statement. They said they didn't like it, but there was no meat on the bone to it. Today, the Big Ten puts out a statement. They're like, no, we've voted. We're unanimous. We're not allowing this specifically. Like, that's a step further. And now we'll see how the SEC and the Big 12 and ACC, like I said, and whoever else responds in kind. They're all discussing it today. But, yeah, immediately the lawyers started circling, and there was plenty of poking of what exactly this means and examples given of who would still be eligible. And as I said a few moments ago, a lot of these guys we've talked about recently would technically still be eligible because they didn't sign NFL contracts or they didn't attend a specific, they weren't specifically on the roster. They didn't specifically sign a contract. Those things are outs that you still have if you were somebody that went like a Cole Hudson at Texas and you went to a mini camp, but there was no strings attached to that, he'd technically be eligible still. Yep. So it's not completely, even what the Big Ten is saying here, eliminating if you left, you can't come back. That's not what they're saying. There's still some room for allowance, if you will, based on the wording here, and we'll see how that continues to evolve, but that's what it is as of right now.
Amanda Kristovich, Front Office Sports will join us at 3:40. She had an article earlier today of Front Office Sports. Several conferences now considering ban. Of course, we've seen what the Big Ten just released. We showed you or mentioned the SEC last night, which was kind of disagreeing with allowing any of it, but never coming down and saying that we're not. Also, even the ACC and the Big 12 are having similar conversations. And then on top of that, even the American Conference is having conversations about what they should do or will do about allowing professional athletes, players that go to camp, signing contract. I agree, if you get a training camp or off-season workout, but you don't sign anything other than perhaps to protect yourself if you're injured, something like that, I'm good with it. It was, and no longer is, as soon as you declared for the NFL draft, you're done. They're allowing a loophole there, not a loophole. You can declare for the draft, but if you don't enter the draft, you still have the ability to go back to college, very similar to what they do with the NBA draft and college players who enter the draft but just kind of put their toe in the water.
Yeah, there's three specific things that people have highlighted that are a part of the Big Ten statement, and this is what would not be allowed under their rules. But again, last night the SEC said, we don't like this, we don't want it to happen anymore, but there wasn't, like I said, much to it other than that. The Big Ten took it a step further, but the question is, like, as we sort through this, the question with this, like with anything else, is, like, what can they actually enforce? So it sounds good what the Big Ten is saying, but, like, can they actually do this? Or is there going to be a lawyer that says, you know what, we're going to go get this, that, or the other? And some of the examples I gave, like Stephen Daly with Indiana, guys like that who already have the temporary restraining order, based on the lawyers I saw, they were saying that'll allow them to still play, like I said a few moments ago. But I think that's because they had that TRO or whatever. But the Big Ten says, here's basically the rules. Underclassmen who declared for NFL draft and did not withdraw, you can't come back to college. I think that's fair. If you declared for the draft and you went through the entire process and you saw draft come and go and either you didn't get picked, like some of these guys who are trying to come back, or I don't know, the really weird scenario of if you did get picked and maybe it was in the 7th round and the money's not good enough or whatever. Like, I don't know where actually getting picked would come into play. I feel like that would be a bridge too far for even lawyers to try to come back from. But if you declared, you went through it all, and then afterwards you're like, no, I want to go back to school. Like, no, you can't do that, which I think we should all agree is a worthwhile rule and makes sense. I'm team common sense. Any football player who signed a contract with the pro sports league, there you go. So you would think that would eliminate, on the basketball side, several of the players who have been coming back to basketball recently that have completely killed my interest in that sport. But any contract signing, you're done. And anybody who was actually on a professional roster, which some of these guys were on training camp rosters but not the actual official roster, you're done. I mean, those are 3 pretty basic rules. I don't know outside of that what other examples there might be or things that they might try to enforce, but those are the 3 big ones that Pete Thamel, among others, laid out that were a part of this Big Ten ruling or vote. So, yeah, I don't think there's too much gripe with any of those 3 things, and that seems like pretty distinct lines to draw. And, like, yeah, you took part in the draft. You signed a contract. You were on the team. You were a pro. You can't come back to college. But if you were at a mini camp and you didn't sign anything and you weren't on the roster, but you still took part, you're fine. You can come back to school, it looks like.
Yeah, they mini camps, of course, free agency in the NFL is at the end of February, and there's a little window there. You got to look at the timeline, too, because if you declare for the draft or you get invited to you're not drafted, but you are invited to participate, mini camp, off-season, whatever, that means you're not in school during the spring, which means then schools who will go through their spring football and then get into the offseason, there are still some opportunities to hook up with programs after that time. But that again, the window, that means it's even tighter than it was before.
I think if you're against any of these, like these 3 rules specifically, I just don't think you care about college sports at all, and you are actually outright rooting for its failure, because those 3 and the allowance that it still gives for you to have some of that process. Again, I just, at a certain point, it's just like, what's common sense, right? And so that's just where I am. It's like, what's common sense on who should be able to play college sports or not? And I'll let the lawyers deal with all the rest of it and actually determine what's what there. And I did see a comment made in passing on the way over here about the SEC and saying, like, what they put out last night was just like, hey, we don't like this, we don't want it. And that was it. That was really all there was. And in that way, I describe it as toothless, just because if I'm LSU reading that, like, that doesn't scare me. Like, okay, ooh, you don't like it. Oh, no, guess what? We're still going to do it anyways. Like, the only way we're not going to do this is if you force us to not do it, and you like actually say, like, you will be sued if you do not do that.
Or the league will hammer you some way or another,
we
right?
will put you on probation, like whatever
Yep.
it is they can actually do, which again is the question in all of this legal stuff, is what's actually doable or not. But beyond that, like, I think somebody pointed out that part of the reason why maybe that statement by the SEC was so vague and toothless, which I know sounds like really negative, but I don't mean it to be like a shot at the SEC. That's what it was. There was no real threat in it, so that's the word I'm using.
No, toothless is soft, whatever.
But I'm not trying to call them soft. I'm just saying that, like, there wasn't anything to it.
The statement meant nothing.
Yes,
other than the
yeah.
fact we disagree with players coming back to play back in college.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bog down on the statement. I'm just saying I'm not going like, ooh, the SEC is a bunch of you-know-whats. Like, no,
However,
I'm just they just were careful with their wording, and I think the reason why is what I'm getting to is, as a couple people pointed out, is that there's other sports, and it's bigger than football, and you have to take into account basketball and softball and how all of this is going to work. So the SEC probably playing it smart and not getting too over their skis and going this, that, and the other, and instead just being very calculated and just choosing their words very carefully, but letting their stance be known. I think that's the way you give them the most benefit of the doubt.
Then to me, don't release the statement, because it didn't do anything. But when I saw the Big Ten and the stories that they were already voting that unanimously, well, that just kind of like, okay, they kind of trumped the SEC, whether it was a competition, not saying that, but they said, all right, good stuff. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Now, again, Amanda will try to clarify a lot of that at 3:40 or so. Now, let's get to a few more stories. How about the NCAA reducing the suspension of Tennessee linebacker Arian Carter from what was 2 games to 1. He's the one that, remember, went to an NFL camp and got a plane ticket bought by his agent. He reimbursed the agent. Eventually, the NCAA said, okay, that's going to be a 2-game suspension. That kind of reminds me of what they did 5, 10, 20, 50 years ago, if not even declare you ineligible. So Tennessee appealed it, and so did Carter, and the NCAA, Craig, cut that from 2 games to 1. In fact, I saw Trey Wallace a couple of nights ago say that with what was going on with the players in the NFL, that the first thing that Tennessee should do the next morning is sue, or at least ask the NCAA to cut the suspension from either 2-0 or 2-1 with Arian Carter, and they did that today.
I'm glad to see it. I mean, when this first came out and the suspension was what it was, there was obviously a lot of backlash and a lot of people pissed that felt it was far too severe, and I agree with that. On the one hand, though, I was like, well, the NCAA is at least doing their job for once. It looks like they're actually trying to enforce something, so I gave them some little amount of credit for that, but 2 games did seem a bit harsh. If that's what the rules say, I mean, you go by the rules, but it's just so rare to see them try to do anything. So to see that, it's almost like they took out 2 years' worth of frustration on Arian Carter, because they could actually do something about him, and he couldn't really do anything back. So, yeah, 2 games seemed like at least 1 too many, if not a couple too many, and I'm sure there's still a lot of people, and not all Tennessee fans, but that feel like maybe he should have gotten 0 in the big picture. But I'll take 1 over 2. That's good news for him. That's good news for Tennessee, and good for him that they were able to whittle this down a little bit, because in an actual open landscape where things make sense and common sense prevails and rules actually matter and people follow them and the punishments are clear, then, yeah, you took a plane ticket, you didn't pay for it, okay, it's a couple-game suspension. That should all just be free and understandable and clear. But in what's going on right now, where you've got all of this chaos surrounding every aspect of this sport, to punish him with 2 games seemed like you were handing him a death sentence, basically, compared to what some other people are getting away with. So, yeah, I think common sense on the part of the NCAA actually did prevail here in whittling that down and saying, hey, there's got to be something, but it doesn't need to be 2 games.
Although Danny White said they should do what's right and make it none.
Right.
But archaic rules continue. Now, speaking of that, Houston has signed former Arizona State and Kansas safety Miles Rouser, who also was, by the way, part of a rookie minicamp with the Seattle Seahawks. 182 tackles the last couple of years at ASU. He's headed to Houston to play for Willie Fritz and the Cougars defense. And he's a really good player. And I saw this last night. I'm like, okay, I remember him somewhere. It was Arizona State. He played at KU. He was in Seahawks minicamp. He now will be joining the University of Houston football program. And before you comment on that, Craig, also, Stephon Johnson, the wide receiver, has been granted an extra year of eligibility, and he, too, is joining the Houston football program. There was a year he put up some big numbers. Deep threat type of guys, got great speed. So they have 2 players, Rouser, the safety, Johnson, the wide receiver, joining their football program.
We going to jump on Willie Fritz like we jumped on Lane Kiffin?
First of all, I don't know if, again, what the Big Ten, they play in the Big 12, or the Big 12, what they're going to do. It's interesting. Here's what happens. If you're a fan of a team that's not taking advantage of what can be pushed to us, like the envelope, there are some, you're going to point fingers. And then all of a sudden your program does it, and you're like, yeah, but I don't know the exact situation of the timeline, but those are 2 damn good players that Houston just added. And so I think there'll be some that probably go, well, wait a minute, why should they do that? And is it under the timeline of can they do that? But 2 talented young men.
Well, I mean, it's clearly under the timeline because they're doing it. And it's if you're going to do it, it's now because these guys are getting this availability to do so. So, yeah, I mean, clearly it's all open and fair game there. But every situation's a little bit different. LSU capitalizing on the court rulings, especially in the state of Louisiana and the TROs and all of that. And obviously got a lot of attention, and to the point he was on McAfee defending himself again today and doubling, tripling down on I'm going to do what I want. I don't care what anybody else thinks about it, but let me justify some of it. And then, you know what? A lot of other coaches, a lot of people talking about how other coaches looking around saying, well, if they're going to do it, why don't we do it? And so I'm not surprised to see more people going out and grabbing these guys, including Willie Fritz in Houston. I mean, I guess as a fan, just a personal I guess I can maybe stomach guys coming back from mini camps that didn't sign, but I don't like it in general. Like, I don't like any player who left college coming back. Now, I understand this fifth-year thing is what's really throwing it for a loop. That's what's just thrown this all for one big roller coaster loop. I prefer not to see it at all, but I understand this year's going to be unique in that way. What it looks like moving forward, I think, will be far more interesting. So just on a player basis, yeah, Rouser's a good player. All Big 12, like third team last year, and very experienced. And so that's a good pickup for Willie Fritz's defense. And I think Stephon Johnson's a tremendous pickup because he's a really, really good player. And you pair him with Amari Thomas and give Wegman another surefire, proven veteran receiver in that room. I think that's massive news for Houston to get Stephon Johnson. Like, there's a lot of guys getting picked up, and you're like, oh, he might be okay. And like Stephon Johnson, like, that's a really good pickup for Houston at this deadline date of the season starting. So it's got to feel like they hit like a little quick pick at the corner store, because like that makes a big difference for their offense.
Here's what Willie Fritz said about now. I just kind of stayed out of it, talking about bringing players back whose eligibility were over or even in camps with the NFL. I just kind of stayed out of it because it seemed like things were changing every other day. I wanted to wait until we had some finality. And so perhaps under the change of what you can or cannot do, Johnson, as you said, big play receiver, and Rouser is a hell of a player when he was at Arizona State and also a good talent. I think Johnson might have also been a part of an NFL minicamp and is back in college football.
Well, I mean, it pretty much seems like everybody's going to be, and he got his season cut short last year, so excited to see how he bounces back. So if you go and you just look at pure numbers, look at last year and be like, hey, like 300 yards was a big deal. He played in a handful of games, and that was it. So I think to have him fully healthy and coming back and just give them another option of a guy who's played a lot of football, I think is going to be really good for Willie Fritz and company. And I mean, it's so hard to sort through, like, every specific thing. Because, like, I think he was in a minicamp. Was he in a minicamp? I don't know. Was he in a minicamp? What year was he? Is he a fifth-year guy? Or was he, like, it's so confusing because there's dozens of these guys who are now coming back or attempting to come back or aren't sure if they can come back. And it's only getting cloudier by the day, even with the Big Ten saying what they're saying, because even with their statement, the first thing people did was like, well, how does this affect Stephen Daly at Indiana? Oh, well, he'd still be fine. How does this affect UCLA? Oh, he'd still be fine. How does this affect? So, I guess get in where you fit in is the name of the game in college football in 2025. And I think for Willie Fritz and company, they weren't the first to strike, but they let it kind of fall and said, all right, we can do this. All right, let's go do this. And so can't blame them.
Yeah.
May not like it, but can't blame them.
There's also some quarterbacks and other players out there that have not yet decided where they're going to play. One of them, this is a story that's really 3 or 4 days old, but we hadn't gotten to it. And it's still Thomas Castellanos, who has not yet decided where he's going to play. It appears that Texas Tech could end up with another quarterback in their room as insurance policy with Will Hammond. And he, of course, played at Boston College. He was at UCF, went to Florida State. He's a fun player to watch. Still has not yet made a decision, but that one is hanging out there on what he does.
Yeah, all signs are pointing towards Texas Tech the last 24, 48 hours. He's a fun player to watch. He's also a very frustrating player to watch at times. Depends on the year and the week and the opponent and all of that. But dude's definitely played a lot of ball, and he can be very exciting. And certainly for what Tech's identified him as, which is just a veteran backup quarterback, he would be a great addition for Texas Tech in that role. And, yeah, I think is certainly good enough that if you're already planning on winning most of your games because of your defense or because of your run game, and it's less about Will Hammond having to earn your way to victory week in and week out, then, yeah, Thomas Castellanos is a perfect guy to come in and help you continue to win games by doing just enough and not, being a guy who's completely inexperienced and can actually throw you out of a game or something along those lines. So I know it was very hit or miss at FSU. He's well-traveled. I mean, this will be team number 4 for him wherever he ends up. So if you're on team 4, you're not elite. He's not elite, but he's still very good compared to what other options are out there for them. And so I think for Tech, this would make a lot of sense. And I would say I think they're going to be really good defensively. I think their run game is going to be excellent. I think they're going to have tremendous weapons. I do think the quarterback's going to matter. I think we don't really know about Will Hammond and how good he's going to be. I think they can get into the playoff, win the Big 12, and maybe win a game or two depending on the matchup without having to have elite quarterback play, just better than bad quarterback play. I do think, though, that if Thomas Castellanos is like your guy and you'd have to ride him the rest of the way, I don't think you're probably winning a national championship, but I don't think you're thinking that either way right now.
I think
does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
I think, and I hope nothing happens with Will Hammond.
Right.
But we know Tech's had a terrible run of quarterbacks in interesting position. I think Castellanos is just fine. He can run, he can throw. They're going to have Leftwich is going to have to kind of maybe neuter him a little bit, but it's a better. With all due respect to those who were going to be the backups when it was Sorsby, Hammond, whoever, I think it's a hell of a pickup.
He's a way better option than anybody else on that roster. Yeah, he's way more experienced. I mean, he did more last year than the rest of their room's done in their entire careers, which, I guess Francis has played a good bit of football, but I forgot about him for a moment. I was just thinking about their younger players. So, yeah, I mean, he and Francis, you'd have a great option that could carry you through whatever storm you need to guide through. I guess how I was saying that was if Will Hammond turns out to be elite, I do think that Castellanos is not quite at that level. But if Will Hammond's not elite, then it doesn't change much, and you've got a guy that's on par with your guy. So, yeah, I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah,
for
especially
Texas Tech.
with the strengths they have in the run game that ought to be just dicey, really good, special. And then you have a guy like him who can run around with it, too. Of course, so can Hammond. This is another story that this happened a day or two ago, and I checked in to kind of see, okay, what's going on here, rather than just read what someone wants to tell me. The number one prospect in the country is Jalen Brewster, who was at Cedar Hill High School just north of here. He has now moved and transferred to Buford High School in Georgia. And there was a lot of, oh, my God, what does this mean? Where have they sent a lot of different players? I think that's where Dylan Raiola transferred when he was going to play high school football in Georgia, and eventually now he's at Oregon. I've been told this is, just something that's not going to change where he's going to go. At least those in the business don't think it will. But that was something that at least made you go, as he's headed to Buford, Georgia, one of the great programs of high school football in the country. Cedar Hill was, at one point, they're not quite the same, but still a very good football program.
And here is part of the reason why I'm totally checked out on high school football these days. I mean, the fact that you can just up and move to a different state and be like, I'm just going to play high school football here. Not saying you shouldn't be allowed to do that. I just think it kills a lot of the nostalgia I have for high school football, meaning that you're playing for your community and your friends that you grew up with, and you're not just chasing the bag at 16, 17 years old. But that's the world we live in now, where that's all that matters is chasing the bag. And one of the reasons I saw laid out, and I didn't follow up to see if this was at the heart of it all, but it would make a lot of sense, is that you've got laxer rules in Georgia as far as NIL.
Yep.
So Jalen Brewster can go to Georgia and make a whole lot of money and sign up and go play for the best team right away, no strings attached, and make a whole lot of NIL money, whereas opposed to, I guess, what he's allowed to do in Texas. So this is a money move. So now you got guys transferring high schools for money purposes, going from Texas to Georgia, and I know there's other examples and other similar happenings, not just recently, but over the years. But it's still kind of just weird to see it, that a guy's he's like, I'm going to go play in Georgia and I'm going to go make my NIL money, and then I'm going to come back and play for Texas Tech. At least they hope so, and it does still feel like he's locked in with Tech, but a guy that's rated as highly as he is with the offers that he has, you've got every site in America with a team that has some skin in the game trying to rattle that cage and see if, are you sure you want to go to Texas Tech? Like, is there any chance over LSU? Is there any chance over any other team? And there's been a lot of smoke around, I think it's LSU, in regards to his recruitment. So we'll see how that goes these next few months. But, yeah, it's weird to see it, but it makes business sense. And
Kim Coulter mentioned it's not NIL, it's UIL. It's NIL. The UIL, of course, is very strict when it comes to transfer.
I'm talking name, image, likeness.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking about he's going there to make money.
Yep.
They have lax the rules are different.
If he wanted to transfer to another school, we've seen big names. Meredith, who's now at Texas, and then, of course, the quarterback who moved out of state. Oh, my God, his dad was a quarterback, and also his brother recently has been Musmeyer. So, Kim, kind of clarify that. What you mean by UIL. If it's about the rules that you cannot just get up and transfer, that's the way it is, although there are some that slip through the system and don't get knocked. Used to be if you tried to transfer from one to another and you were ruled ineligible and the UIL confirmed it, you couldn't play for the school you were with, but they at least now allow you to go back and play where you're from.
Well, what can the Texas UIL do about him playing at Georgia?
Nothing.
So, I'm talking NIL. Like, he's going for money. That's at least part of the reason why is that Georgia has, I guess you'd say, lax rules compared to Texas. Much easier to go and make money there as a high school athlete than what you're allowed to do in the state of Texas. So that was where I was coming from. But as far as the UIL goes, to your point, Kim, I don't see that there's anything they could do about it. They don't own Jalen Brewster. They can't force the state of Georgia to allow him to play or to not allow him to play. So, maybe I'm missing something there.
No, that's without question. Also because of wanting to graduate in December.
That's a big reason too. Yeah.
At Cedar Hill, that might be an issue based on credits or transfers or transcripts, where he can go to Buford and get that the ability to leave and graduate in December and also be on the campus at Tech in January.
Now that you mentioned that, there was also that part as well of the various reasons, as I saw outlined, was the NIL portion, the graduate early. This Buford, there's a one-stop shop, man. They'll get you in, get you paid, get you out, just like that, buddy.
You have Buford, Georgia. You have, of course, IMG Academy, and then you have a few other schools that have become kind of, they're kind of like they're like Buc-ee's of high school football. Go get all you need and then move on. And that's not to be negative about them. There's some great football programs, and Buford is one of them without question.
There are. It was jarring to me when I first learned about California high school football and how it's just nothing like the state of Texas, and how all the best players basically funnel to the Catholic private schools like De La Salle, and they all go play there, even though you're from Long Beach or you're from San Luis Obispo or you're from San Francisco, like, oh, you're all just at De La Salle magically. There's been various places where it works differently when it comes to what schools you go to and all of that. And hell, the state of Texas is undergoing a transformation right now. I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if in 5 years all the best players are at all the private schools, and they're just soaking up as much money as possible because that's basically the way the politics are driving things. So I could see that being the case here sooner rather than later. I just hate it from a nostalgia aspect that you grow up, you go to the school you grew up in the town of, you go to school with the kids you grew up with, but I also wasn't somebody who had millions of dollars potentially to be made at 17 years old. So if I was Jalen Brewster and you tell me I can go move to Georgia and graduate earlier and get to Tech on time or to whatever school you end up at, hopefully for Tech's sake, it's Tech, and also make some money, then I'm sure I'd probably have a different way of looking at it than the way that I look at it from my own personal experience. So go get your paper, boo-boo.
All right. By the way, the apparently Brewster family has bought a house in Lubbock, too. And, of course, they're going to have some number one player.
Apparently Saban's wife's looking around Austin for houses, too.
Who? No. Jamel Holloway. Saw the story yesterday about how there are some Oklahoma fans that put up, think about him, pray for him. He's been through some health issues. He was in ICU, but this is a video with former great, and he's a former great. He's a wishbone, phenomenal quarterback, and with Brian Bosworth. And they won a national championship together. This is video of Jamel Holloway the day or two after the story about his health, signing autographs, a book signing. with Bosberg. Let's hear a little bit of this.
To the best, from the best.
Okay. Okay.
So good to see that Jamel is up and about. Obviously still has work to do and to recover, but signing his name and also putting national champions, Brian Bosworth, of course, the Boz, a personality back. Can you imagine him during social media days if it was there? But Jamel Holloway took over a team, and they went on to win the national championship, and he ran the damn wishbone about as well as anybody. They had Lott and Mildred and others, but Steve Owen, he was as good as I ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, good to see a couple of Sooner legends there. I cannot help but think of Jamel Holloway and the very infamous Sports Illustrated cover of him in the orange jumpsuit.
No, that's Charles Thompson.
Oh, that was Charles Thompson.
Yeah,
you're
Charles
right,
Thompson.
You're right,
No.
Sorry, I'm getting the confused. Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you for the clarification. But, yes, that's Charles Thompson. But, yeah, Jamel Holloway was a phenomenal player, and did not get to see him in his prime. Have been relegated to YouTube clips and the like, but everything I've ever heard about him, seen about him, read about him was that he was, I mean, as far as all the greats that Switzer had roll through there, like Jamel Holloway was one of the baddest dudes that walked those hallways and ran on that grass. So hope he's doing well. Looks to be in good spirits, at least on this occasion, and hope that continues for him, and glad to see the bosses there supporting him.
Appreciate the update. We got a break. Come back with Amanda Kristovich. Look at this picture outside of Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. Remember, they're going to sell beer. And I don't think of any fan base other than Wisconsin, maybe they'll drink more. That was from Travis Hines, who covers Iowa State, with the beer truck about to go into a ramp area and unload cold ones. And they will along. I'm going to tell you, they have plenty of it outside because I've been there a couple different times, but that's awesome to see. And Jack Trice about to make some extra money, and they will with the Iowa State fan base.
So I have a quick anecdote. I was actually listening to a favorite podcast of mine, and they were reflecting back on a comedy tour they had done, and they were talking specifically how they had a very memorable night in Ames where Bob Saget had a concert or had a stand-up RIP Bob Saget in Iowa City at the same night that they did. So he kind of bit into their crowd. So they were in Ames, and most everybody had gone to Iowa City to see Bob Saget. And they said that when they walked out on stage, for the people that they did have, they said it was by far the drunkest crowd they had ever performed in front of their entire life, and that they had never seen people drink beer like the people in Ames, Iowa drank beer. And it was just very random. I came across that episode like yesterday and was listening to them talk about the beer drinking in Ames, Iowa. And there's about to be some more, at least during games. So good for the Cyclones and all the visiting teams that will come through and enjoy that.
Amanda Kristovich coming up next, Front Office Sports. What does the Big Ten statement or any other conferences, what does it actually mean? How does that work legally? And then also Shahan Jayaraja. And we'll have John McClain. Craig's off the radar. We do appreciate you. Thank you very much, and this is 365 Sports. I'm not going to read the whole text message, but I got one from John Peterson, who's a Houston fan. He's on and views and watches our show. I wanted to make sure I clear it with him. I haven't had a chance other than the fact he sent me a note. He has had some back surgeries. He has had constant pain, just can't get through it. And he and I spoke on the phone about a month ago when I was on my way up the. And I told him, how was I doing? He's heard my story. He goes, I think I'm going to get in touch with them. And he got to be careful because he's had surgery. So whatever the delicate parts of where he has had issues or not, bottom line is he went to QC Kinetics this week. And they have a plan for him. And they're going to fix him. And I think that's awesome because I was able to at least share that story. And John down in the, he's the one that part of that big, huge hunting ranch, that lease, but a Houston fan. And try to get fixed, try to get better. He will be fixed and he will get better because that's what QC Kinetics does with how they take your plasma, your platelets, your stem cells, your bone marrow, and they use it to heal you like they did with me starting back in September of last year. And it is nice and great to feel great. And I want that for John, and QC Kinetics is going to take care of him. Really cool, John, and I wish you the best and keep me informed along the way. QC Kinetics, if anyone is talking to you about any kind of surgery, before you do any of that, contact QC Kinetics. Here are the numbers in Dallas and also Houston. Dallas 972-972-8610. And in Houston, 713-913-5285. There are locations throughout both of those cities for you, and they will set you up. You choose where you want to go and get the treatment. That won't just kind of kick the can down the road. It will fix you. It will heal you. You will feel better, not just for a month or two, long term. Back in September, I'm almost coming up on a year of my first treatment, and I am doing so much more than I did for 4.5 to 5 years because of the good people, and great business at QC Kinetics with locations in Dallas and Houston. QCkinetics.com.
Broker is your Lennox premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive a 2026 Ram 1500 Limited Crew Cab with your choice. 0% for 36 months or 25% off MSRP. See why it was named to Car and Driver's Best 10 Trucks and SUVs list. And it comes with America's Best Truck Powertrain Warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
Here we go, 365 Sports, as we roll into the end of the 3 o'clock hour. We appreciate your time and always, of course, every second you spend with us, we don't forget it. And we're now joined by Amanda Kristovich, who's become a go-to. She understands the legal system, at least every day there's something, Amanda. We've talked about that. And now the Big Ten comes down with a statement which we thought was much more stern and final compared to what the SEC did last night. But
correct.
My question for you is all this going to hold up with them saying no more players, at least in these particular ways?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the Big Ten has decided to just come out and say, hey, look, we have passed a conference bylaw that stipulates that you cannot play Big Ten football if you are in these certain categories of professional player or professional football player, NFL training camp. You know, we could go through it if you want, because there are certain players who have maybe like touched the NFL in some way who are still eligible. But it is interesting that they've decided to do this, knowing that they might be sued, knowing that players might include them as defendants in lawsuits against the NCAA, or knowing that they might be, sued on their own, right, by players. I don't think it's likely at this exact moment, given that, there are a couple, like there is a little bit of leeway. There's a UCLA transfer who is in a situation that where he went through his 4 years of eligibility, got into the NFL draft automatically, didn't get drafted, participated in like one rookie mini camp in May, where basically he was just invited to come. It was a tryout, never signed a contract, never got on an NFL team. He can play for UCLA. This new Big Ten rule doesn't preclude that. So we'll see. It will probably be challenged, but I also think there's probably strength in numbers here if other conferences join in.
Yeah, and the Big Ten has no shortage of money and lawyers and influence and politicians, so I'm sure they're banking on some of that. Do you feel like the SEC was maybe more carefully worded because of the possible litigation, or do you think there was maybe more reason as to why they were sort of vague and not as, hey, we're already doing this, that, and the other like the Big Ten was today?
Right. Well, I mean, the SEC's statement said basically nothing as far as I'm concerned. Because their statement was just a statement. It wasn't actually, hey, we have changed a rule. The Big Ten confirmed that they voted on a new rule, right? I mean, maybe theoretically one could always assume that, conference rules prohibit professional athletes going back to college, but clearly there is something that they wrote down, they voted on through their processes, they put it in their bylaws at the Big Ten. That's what they confirmed today. That is not what the SEC did. The SEC put out a strongly worded statement, and oh, by the way, we like the Protect College Sports Act now. Okay, fine. They had previously scheduled meetings for today and tomorrow, so we'll see if they actually follow the Big Ten by implementing a new rule. But not their statement didn't even mean anything to me. You know what I mean? It irritated me, to be honest with you, because I got all these Slack messages about it from my editors being like, what is this? And I was like, oh, here we go. Here's the ban. No, there was no ban. There was no rule. It was just a statement. And, they didn't actually take any actions yet.
Amanda, there's a thing called collusion, and I don't know if that means you have to have unions or whatever else. So my question is, let's say the Big Ten, they're going to do this. There's 18 teams, that they're not going to sign players who want to play for whatever school in the Big Ten. If all of them hold hands and we're not going to do it, can they be sued for collusion?
So that's going to be my next question, is calling some lawyers tonight and tomorrow to drill down into this collusion question, because you obviously raise a great point. I think in general, across, the NCAA is a much bigger organization than the Big Ten. I think the general prevailing wisdom is that conferences, one conference, the schools within one conference are more likely to be able to set certain restrictions that are defensible in court and not considered collusion than intra-conference rules, right? The Big Ten and the SEC are doing this separately for a reason. They might have all the same opinions, let's say, right? In the past, the two of them have met together and they were putting out these messages, right? But as far as rules go, they have said publicly that they're worried about being accused of collusion and antitrust violations if they set rules together. So theoretically, and this is not something they've told me specifically, but this is what I'm assuming based on the actions that they have taken, especially today, they believe that they have a legal argument that they will not be accused of collusion, or they will not, be quote unquote convicted of collusion if it's just their conference's rule. If another conference separately decides to copy their rule, I guess that's fine. But so long as it's within the conference, it's much more defensible than an NCAA-wide rule or a multi-conference rule.
So, Amanda, a lot of people point out this is kind of the NCAA's own making because of the timing in which they decided to do this. Why do you think they decided to risk opening this can of worms? And then at the same time, though, like, I still feel like even if they had waited and maybe that closes the door on these specific 20 or so people, that still is not going to stop all these lawyers from going, well, this means nothing and that means nothing. I mean, like, it's not like the lawyers aren't going to keep circling and finding other vulnerabilities in the fence, so to speak. I feel like that comes with the territory now.
Yeah, I think, look, I can't get into the mind of the NCAA, and I have spoken to neither any NCAA sources on background or on the record about why they decided to make this decision when they made it. But other sources that I have spoken to in the NCAA, like in the college sports ecosystem, right, have given me a couple like potential theories as to why they did this, and I'll give them to you. Okay. The theory that makes the NCAA sound the most logical is that they were so sick of getting hit left, right, and center with eligibility lawsuits in state court, in federal court, challenging all different aspects of their policy. They were getting these challenges because they have this waiver process where they have so many different exceptions that can be made on a case-by-case basis. They were just sick of dealing with that, and they wanted to end it as quickly as possible, because the whole concept of this age-based eligibility policy where you get 5 years, that's not the NCAA being altruistic and saying, oh, let's give everyone an extra year. That's the NCAA saying this is the policy that is going to be defensible in court because it is specific. There are no exceptions. It is going to be applied to everybody, and we will be able to hold this up in court, right? So that's one reason for why they did this in June rather than waiting. The other reason, which is a little more conspiratorial, you could say, and was brought to me by the attorneys that filed that Colorado case. They said this on the record. They were like, we believe that NCAA did this on purpose to create chaos. They knew this was going to happen. They did it on purpose. They wanted the chaos to ensue so that they could take evidence of that chaos to Congress and get the Protect College Sports Act passed.
3D chess.
Yeah, the punishments of the Big Ten's punishments, if you break the rules on these eligibilities, is kind of what we've seen before. 50% of your game suspension, fines to the institution, and much more. But as long as they're all, again, lockstep and barrel, that's fine. I think it's good. And do you think the Big Ten, when they saw the SEC, I'm not trying to compare the two, but I am. When they saw the SEC's statement that was fluff,
right?
Do you think the Big Ten, Petiti, got on the phone and goes, we're meeting first, we're going to meet anyway, but we're meeting first thing tomorrow morning. We're going to be the first ones to slam the door on this?
I mean, I think it's possible. I would assume that the conversation started earlier than that they probably started right when this Louisiana temporary restraining order came down back last Wednesday night, which was less than a week ago. It feels like it's been 100 years, but it was only 6 days ago. I also think they probably wanted to move quickly because at this exact moment, there are no reports of Big Ten schools that have accepted one of these players onto their roster, right? The LSU SEC situation is a completely different can of worms. But the Big Ten said if we move quickly, we can prevent this from getting to our conference at all. Whereas LSU has to contend with a Big 12 Brendan Sorsby Texas Tech situation where they're actually going to have to punish a school already that has already made a decision to not just accept one, but now two, according to reports, players that would be in this restricted category. If the SEC decides to draw the same line that the Big Ten drew, right? It's possible they won't. So we'll have to see about that. But I'm sure that they moved as quickly as they could to make sure that no Big Ten schools had the opportunity to really consider this, because all the sources I spoke to, and coaches, even I think Ryan Day said this yesterday publicly, like, none of us want to sign professional players. Like, none of us believe that that is ethical or moral or within the bounds of what we're doing here. But if it is somehow protected legally, essentially, like, we would be suckers not to at least consider it. Like, it's a competitive advantage that we might lose out on. Why? Because we're standing on our high horse. Like, if everybody else is going to do it, we might as well do it, and we at least have to consider it. So I was talking to, like, NIL sources who were like reluctantly like, yeah, we're looking into this. We're looking into players, because even though we don't want them, we might need them.
So, Amanda, what's the difference between UCLA getting the JMU linebacker and Indiana bringing back a couple of guys, and what Lane Kiffin's doing and getting panned for? Like you kind of mentioned, they're sort of different. I know some guys are chasing the fifth year. Some of this is about guys who went to the NFL, and so there is that difference. But am I missing anything else other than that here?
So the Louisiana case, which is the one that actually encompasses this UCLA player that you were just talking about, Trent Hendrick. Yes. That was actually about the 5-year conundrum, this class of 2022. The case just argued that, hey, some of our plaintiffs have participated in NFL preseason activities or signed contracts. We're not arguing that you should change the rule to allow that to be okay. We're just saying that we are arguing that the 5-year rule implementation was not legal, and these players never would have gone to the NFL had they known that they would have eligibility. So just sort of keep that in the back of your mind, right? Yeah. So now you go to the argument that the Big Ten is making, which is that there are players who declare for the NFL draft as quote unquote underclassmen, right? After 3 years of eligibility. There are also players who do not do that, who complete all 4 years of eligibility, and then their names get automatically entered into the NFL draft. Okay. These players, and this is like most players, and it's different than basketball, because in basketball, after 1 year, you can go to the NBA draft. So there's a much more sort of public process of, am I going to declare for the draft or not? Right. So they're saying if you didn't actually declare for the draft as an underclassman, you just got put in automatically after 4 years. That's okay if you didn't get drafted because you didn't sign a contract. Now, let's say you did that and then you got invited to a rookie mini camp, which is a very specific type of training camp in the NFL, which happens in May. And it's like 2 weekends, and it's a tryout. It's not like a participation. Like you're trying out. Let's say you go through that and you don't get on the team. You don't get signed. You sign nothing, whatever. That's the situation that the UCLA player was in, for example, right? You have you never formally declared for the NFL draft because your name was entered automatically after completing 4 years. And then you never signed a contract. You showed up to this mini camp. You got invited to a tryout. You didn't make the team. I guess sucks for you, but now it doesn't, because you can go back to UCLA, or you can follow your old coach from James Madison to UCLA. That's the situation with the UCLA player, right? No NFL draft declaration, no contract, no NFL contract signed. Daquan Wright, the player who made waves, on Sunday, who is going to LSU from the Browns. He also, I believe, went undrafted, but he not only participated in these mini camps, but he got on the team. He got on the team. He signed a contract. He was making money to not just participate in preseason camps, but also to participate in preseason games. He appeared in games. He got paid. He, was a member of an NFL team, even though his contract was not like a permanent 1-year contract, right? It was I believe, I guess you could call it like an Exhibit 10 type situation for basketball. So that's the line they're trying to draw. They don't want to punish the players who are in this fifth year battle for having their names entered in the NFL draft just because everybody's names get entered in after they graduate or after their 4 years. But they're also saying, like, if you were lucky enough to get signed in any way, shape, or form, like, don't come to the Big Ten.
So this House settlement from about a year or so ago that was going to solve all the problems in I had to bring that up. That seemed like a decade ago. And of course, there's Amanda, thank you. You help clarify what can be complicated, and it is complicated. Even if I think I get it, who knows? But at least somebody put their foot down. We'll see what happens now that they have, and if all the other conferences were to do the same thing, it sure wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, Amanda, how interested are you in whatever Greg Sankey's cooking up right now? And
I'm very interested.
How much his league is looking to him to respond, especially in light of the Brendan Sorsby situation and how hot people were on Brett Yormark and needing to do something, and now the Big Ten doing something. Very curious what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, because again, it's I guess easy to praise the Big Ten when they don't actually have a school that they would need to punish already.
Right.
The SEC has a university president and an athletic director in the room, again, like the Big 12 did with Texas Tech, that has already gone forward with essentially breaking a rule that they would now create. So I think that they're in a much more precarious situation. Obviously, I would say, like Texas Tech, LSU has been ruffling feathers within the SEC, obviously, for, ever, but specifically the past year. So I wouldn't be surprised, kind of like, it almost like, I don't want to call it like a witch hunt, because it's not like LSU didn't do something that is unpopular here, just like Texas Tech did something that was unpopular. But it is kind of a witch hunt in the sense that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of grievances about LSU's behavior were not unloaded into this situation and pressure wasn't put on Greg Sankey internally and externally to potentially punish LSU, even if it meant getting involved in some other legal drama, which is what the Big 12 essentially gambled on. They were, Brett Yormark kind of said, listen, we're going to, he took a gamble. He filed a lawsuit. Ultimately, he didn't have to see it through, but he filed the lawsuit. So we'll see what Greg Sankey does. I think the Big Ten has given them a nice little blueprint here for this situation. But I would like to point out that both of the LSU players, or the players who are going to LSU reportedly, including the player who participated in Saints preseason activities, and he wasn't on the roster, but he was because he got injured and he didn't play preseason. But my understanding is that he did sign with the team. He wouldn't be eligible either, even though he wasn't in preseason. So that's going to be quite a battle. And I would love to be a fly on that wall, but unfortunately I can't be.
Well, damn it. Turn into a fly and get on that wall and then report back to Amanda. Thank you very much. You are amazing at what you do and helping us again understand it all. Amanda Kristovich, Front Office Sports, and always great to have her as a part of the show. We have Shahan Jayaraja coming up. Is he on with us? You want to wrap up anything? Basically, the Big Ten has put down some sort of foot, their hammer, and now we'll see exactly how others follow suit and really what does it in the end mean. I'm going to ask Shahan that in just a second.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad I got to ask her to kind of clarify just for myself. I understood it, but it was good to hear her kind of explain the difference between a Stephen Daly returning to Indiana versus everybody losing their mind over what's happening in Baton Rouge, or UCLA picking up a linebacker versus everybody's reaction to Daquan Wright. Very different reactions, but as she explained, there's differences. And so Stephen Daly, UCLA linebacker, I keep wanting to say Kendrick, but I know that's not right. I don't think, at least, but there's just so many names flying around. But those guys would still be allowed. And in this case of what the Big Ten is doing, Daquan Wright very specifically would not be allowed. So just wanted to have her kind of highlight those differences because it can obviously get very confusing of what we're talking about here with all of these names. Trent Hendrick. I keep saying Kendrick. It's Hendrick.
Yeah.
But, yeah, good to have Amanda on as always.
Well, we're now joined by Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports, who has been on a nice little break because of a baby to the Jayaraja family. Isn't that amazing? Shahan, you got to get back to work. You got to earn your living. But how good was that to have the break with the baby?
Yeah, it was a huge blessing. You know, we're really lucky at CBS. They give us a whole lot of paternity leave, and I'm going to be able to take a little bit more after the season, but obviously I have to get back in the wings. And I will say, this is my first week coming back and doing interviews, and people hit me up quick. I got 10 interviews scheduled this week, so it's a ripping and a roaring already.
When you sent me the note that you were out until whatever it was, I put it in my reminders. And then I checked on you last week to make sure this week. And then, of course, yeah, we fired away at you because we missed having you on, and it's great to see you on. Craig, you want to start with Shahan? Or we'll start with you. Here we are again. Another, not so sure what the rule might be, but what are your thoughts about the Big Ten at least stepping up and saying, no, we're not going to do this anymore, or not going to do this at all?
Yeah, I'm curious to see sort of what it means in practice, right? Because I think that for one, I mean, this is still going to be open to legal challenges technically under this legal guidance, right? Like they do have some level of protection, but I do think that it's valuable for a league to kind of come out and say, look, we just don't want you to do this, right? Like we view this as being a bad thing. And right now there's been conversation that the Big 12 and ACC could do the same thing. I think it's going to be very difficult for the SEC to pass something similar because it's already happened in regards to LSU. So, you know, look, this is, I will say though, a short-term situation. There was always going to be some level of complication and confusion as you got this 5-for-5 instituted, and players were going to say, wait a minute, I don't have anything else going on. I want to go back and play college football and make a lot of money for another year. So I do think this is temporary, but look, I think that it's probably the right thing for the Big Ten to come out and show some leadership on this. And ultimately, I don't necessarily know that it'll change anything, but at least gets it on the record.
Shahan, we do have games to talk about, but I want to ask one more part of this. Lane Kiffin, when you hear him explain why he's doing what he's doing, he's only doing it because if he doesn't, others will do it, according to him. And he's got to do what's best for LSU. And you know what? He's got a point there. I mean, he's got somewhat of a point. On the other hand, it's Lane Kiffin, so he's going to do what's best for him, and that's always going to be the case. What do you think about all the heat LSU has had over the last day or two with all this swirling and them trying to pick up multiple former NFL guys? You go, hey, it's all fair in love and war or love and football, or do you go, that's kind of skeezy? Like, where do you fall on that?
I've heard a lot from people that,
sure.
well, anybody would have done the same thing that Lane Kiffin did over this offseason. And the reality is Lane Kiffin's the only one who I've seen doing a whole lot of those things. But, you know, look, I think that we are in a moment right now where being principled probably doesn't get you all that far in this sport. And I mean, even, you know, if you go back, right, it's like the programs that were super aggressive when it came to NIL or transfer portal or cutting players or whatever you want to talk about, like those have been the programs ultimately that have bought themselves some level of advantage. So, you know, do I think that it's like a travesty that LSU is going out and doing that? Not really. Do I like that they're doing it? Also, not really. Yeah. And, you know, I think that it is true that like these guys are probably going to end up back in college football in one way or another. But like, you know, it is a very Lane Kiffin. It is a very LSU thing to kind of go and be like, look, we obviously don't know a lot about the contracts, but we can probably make it more worth your time to be a college football player in 2026 than try to fight to make an NFL roster.
Yeah, you want to follow it up?
No, I'm thinking of Jack Pyburn specifically. People are like, is he rooting to make the team? Apparently he is, but like he knows if he doesn't, then I got a fat offer from LSU waiting, and probably from other schools as well for that matter. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy where we find ourselves here. But at least it's not quite the bubble bursting that people thought. Like it's a couple dozen guys, right? It's not like it's 1,000 players that are suddenly available, which I think is kind of how it was portrayed initially. And it's much more tame than that, although still very messy.
No, I'd agree so too. And again, this is going to be a short-term speed bump, in my opinion. I think that once we get this 5-for-5 in, I think that we're going to have some level of clarity, right? And the big thing, especially with this new 5-for-5 ruling, is that ultimately it essentially eliminates waivers just across the board, whether it be transfer waivers, injury waivers, eligibility waivers, whatever you want to talk about. They're going to be very clear, hard and fast rules. This is when college athletics ends for you. This is exactly how long you have to do it, and you can't necessarily rally for any more. So, this is the moment where that transition is happening, and transitions are always hard.
Shahan, I got to ask you, and I want to get into football stuff. So you're on this list of being the best or most popular college football personalities, and like in the top 5. And what did your wife say to you when she found this out?
Oh, well, she said a lot to me. She said, first of all, why are you on this list? And then the second thing that she said, she just told me today was, she was like, look, it's like the list of top 100 personalities. And like, I mean, I guess you have like a personality, but like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean, but? So, but no, I mean, just like to be completely radically on, like, I don't know what I'm doing that high on the list. I think I'm in the top 100. I think I'm one of the guys who deserves to be on the list. But man, I was a little stunned to go out there and open up that list, although I've had some fun with it.
Gosh, my goodness, that's crazy, but very, very cool. So, we said we're going to talk about games. Let's talk about games. North Carolina and TCU. The season starts on Saturday at 11 a.m. in Dublin, Ireland. We know how messy behind the scenes has been for North Carolina. How messy will it be on the field, do you think? And TCU, this is like a must-win, right, given everything that's going on with their program just kind of doing what they do, feeling good about David Craig, but also knowing their opponents just in a world of whatever this is going on in Chapel Hill. So a must-win for TCU right out of the gates in some ways?
Well, I think that it's less of a must-win and it's more of a showcase opportunity, right? Like, this is a TCU team that I think is very undervalued coming into the year. You look over the past 4 or 5 years, like, this has been the best recruiting team in the Big 12. They're one of the most talented rosters in the Big 12. They've won 18 games over the last 2 years, and it's really been turnovers in close games. That's been the issue. And I think that they've made a great hire in Gordon Samus coming over from UConn, who, by the way, Coach Joe Fagnano's only 1 turnover last season. So this is a big opportunity for them to once again come out and put their stamp on things in a game that everybody's going to be watching. Of course, you've got the Bill Belichick effect. Of course, you've got the Dublin game. It's week 0. It's going to be in sort of its own slot. So, I mean, if they come out and play well, and especially if David Craig comes out and plays well, like I think he's going to at quarterback, this is a great opportunity for TCU to really get a hot start into the season.
I think everyone thinks they have a chance to be really good, but not sure how good. And the Craig part of it or whatever, Sonny Dykes kind of has that glimmer in his eye, so to speak, when we spoke with him at Frisco. Are they in that group that might be the ones that challenge the 1, 2, or 3 that are mentioned most often?
Yeah, I think that for me, Texas Tech and BYU are kind of in their own tier. And then I think that Houston is probably that third team. And if you ask me from the rest of the field who has the best chance to break in, I really do think it's TCU. Again, they've really flown under the radar because of their struggles a little bit in close games. But this is a team that's competed with the best. They've played well. They've won 18 games. They've been productive. I think defensively, they haven't gotten enough credit for what they've done under Andy Avalos. And this is going to be a great opportunity, I think, in 2026 for them to prove it. Now, the same deal is I think that they kind of have to prove it, right? Like, this is a program whose fans, I think, are a little bit antsy, right? They're waiting for that 10-win season that they were so used to having under Gary Patterson. I think this probably has a chance to be the year.
Do you have anything to say about North Carolina that doesn't involve Bill Belichick in the behind the scenes? I mean, Billy Edwards Jr. Being the starting quarterback. Like, is there anything football related that you really have thoughts on when it comes to North Carolina in 2026?
Well, I think the big thing for me about this North Carolina team is that they're kind of starting over in some ways, right? Like, they had a roster last year that frankly was just slapped together. And I think for good reason, they didn't keep most of them around. But like, you kind of look across this team, there just are not a lot of proven commodities on this roster. From a depth perspective, that they probably are not going to be very good. Defensively, they showed some signs late in the year, but then they also lost a number of players to the transfer portal and to the NFL draft. So like, this is a team that I think is a little depleted. And when you look at the way that they built this roster into 2026, I want to say they took like 43 high school kids as well. So this roster is very, very young, very inexperienced. Billy Edwards, who you mentioned at quarterback, coming over from Wisconsin, a player who's shown flashes, but also has just struggled to stay healthy. I just don't necessarily see exactly where the growth is going to come in year two.
You did an article right before, well, you were still out, but the article about Aranda. Didn't want to be a head coach. We know that story. He's been at times uncomfortable, even though the 21 team was phenomenal. What are your overall thoughts as, yeah, he's on the hot seat? What's the minimum number? Doug McNamee really hasn't been able to, he'll know. He said, I'll know. I'll be able to know and look at it. What are your thoughts as he enters this season?
Well, I think that there has been a real energy change in Waco this offseason. It doesn't mean that the team will be awesome or anything like that, but I do think that they're trying to do things a little differently. I actually give a lot of credit to the new athletic director, Doug McNamee. I think that he's really tried to encourage and empower his players and coaches to be a bit more forward-facing than maybe they have in the past. And I think that that's really been good for this program. You know, I asked, obviously, Coach Aranda about it, but he's tweeting now and posting on Instagram and trying to really but he's like really trying to let people into his personality and who he is and what he cares about. I think that that's important, right? Because everybody, I'm sure, including you guys who have been in that building, like, you know why people love Dave Aranda in that building. I don't know that the community has always gotten to know that because he can be a little private. I think that also, right, like, the thing that I loved, and I included a quote from Doug McNamee in the article, is like, man, there's really no pressure right now because nobody really thinks that anything's going to happen anyway, right? Like, there's no reason to feel pressure. There's no reason to feel stress. Like, just go out there and do what you can. And I think that Baylor had a really good offseason, of course, bringing in DJ Lagway, the former number 3 overall recruit, bringing in Hosea Wheeler and getting him eligible on the defensive line. Again, there's just so many little things that I feel like they did at a high level this offseason that maybe they weren't able to do in the previous offseason. So if you ask me, I still think that Baylor's going to be doing a coaching search this December, but I think that there's a lot to like about this team, and more than anything else, I mean, this team just has to be exciting. They have to be fun. They have to prove that they can bring something a little different and a little fun to Waco. They haven't done it really in 3 or 4 years.
We've seen some cool uniform unveilings in recent weeks as everybody gets geared up. I think Tex Mahomes uniforms this year look really sharp. I liked those. I really loved the Baylor uniforms. I was curious what your thoughts were, like on a scale of 1 to 10, the throwback homage and all that they had DJ Lagway sporting the other day.
Yeah, this is funny. So I give them a 10. The thing that's funny about them to me is, like, I actually didn't love the original jerseys that much from the 80s and 90s. Like, I thought that they were fine, but, like, they looked very dated to me, right? And some of it is, like, the big shoulder pads, and the bear claw was humongous. Like, they looked a little comical, right? Like, this is as good a translation, as of a jersey that I can remember seeing. Like, this is perfect. Like, I would be perfectly happy for these to be the full-time Baylor uniforms in 2026. I think that they just got every little detail right. I love the detail of the stars on the helmet, like the Mike Singletary era. I thought that actually one of the biggest things is, like, the bear paw is the perfect size for the way that those uniforms are laid out now. So I thought it was a home run. I'd love to see more of them. And honestly, I mean, again, we're probably talking a year or two down the road, but it makes me very excited about what Baylor's creative team can come up with whenever they do redesign these jerseys.
Yeah, they need to hit a home run with the uniforms, like at minimum. Like that's part of what the fans have embraced. It's a part of the history in so many ways, as far as a period of success and kind of having an identity that was not unique to just them, because Oregon had that reputation as well, but it was something about Baylor that just kind of separated them, was they wore the flashy chrome and all of that. And so, yeah, I think you're right. And I think, too, like, the fit and the fabrics these days, like, I hated the old creamsicle Buccaneers uniforms. Now I look at them like, those look really dope. Like, those are cool. I think that's part of it as well. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think they're a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, me too. I like what they did. And then I think the disappointing, not that I care, but we cover them along with anybody, but is that it's only like for one game or a throwback for Colorado and not every week, and use those more often. I think the fan base would love it.
Well, I do think that there was a story from Levi Caraway that came out today where Deputy AD Jovan Overstone said that we're definitely wearing them for that game, but it's not that we only are allowed to wear them for that game. So we could potentially move them forward. But I I don't want to get the quote wrong that she said, but she essentially said, we feel like there really has to be a compelling reason for us to wear it. So, keep an eye on the TCU game, keep an eye on the Texas Tech game. But I do think that we're going to see them again. I think they're going to be a huge hit.
No, you got to run, Shahan. So I'll kind of leave you with this to close out this week one. USC's in action, although heavy favorites. We know the storyline with Lincoln Riley. FSU in action. We know that's one of the hottest seats in America, although they're heavy favorites against New Mexico State. You got a Memphis UNLV on Saturday night on Fox, and also some ACC action, NC State and Virginia. The things I mentioned or maybe didn't mention, what else is of interest to you out of this first weekend?
That Memphis UNLV game could have huge implications for the college football playoff, just in terms of trying to shape up that race, right? Because you've got a UNLV team right now that I think will be good enough to contend for the college football playoff. Memphis is a team that obviously is incredibly talented. They imported a lot of their roster as well, along with their new coaching staff. So I think that's a huge game. And also, I think that NC State is a team that's a little undervalued right now. They've got a great returning quarterback as well. So a lot of great stuff to watch this weekend. I mean, week 0 just seems to be getting better and better, although I'm sure by next year probably everybody will be starting on week 0.
And I just, a week earlier of college football, even with all the stuff on the outside, off the field, and legal issues, I will take that anytime. I love the game and I love the sport. Thank you, Shahan. Congratulations on the baby, and also being number 4, even if there's somebody within your household that's not so sure why you're ranked that high. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Shahad Jayaraja, he was out for a while. Glad to have him back. Really glad to have him back. And by the way, a lot of you that have made various comments about our guest that you do every day, I sent those to Amanda. Shahan, you're glad he's back, and Sam Khan and many others. Thank you for your feedback on that too. When we come back, there's some college football QB1 decisions. We got to some of them yesterday, not all of them. There's some new ones as well. And new Auburn quarterback Byron Brown on keeping an eye on when does Alex Golesh get to the field house every day. That and more. Craig Smoak, David Craig. This is 365 Sports. Home Place Interiors, offering everything you need to dress up your home, from a beautiful one-of-a-kind area rugs, custom window treatments. It can help you put the finishing touches on any particular part of your home, or even the office too. Home Place Interiors with Selena and also Stephanie now owning and operating Home Place Interiors. John Proctor opened it up back 20 plus years ago. Still there if they need to pick his brain or when they need some advice on other things, well, even what they order. But they are locked in on what they do. Rug season is every day at Home Place Interiors. So largest selection of any area, largest selection of area rugs anywhere around the Central Texas area. And then also they will be in touch with you if you contact them on Facebook or elsewhere on the website. Home Place Interiors can help you with your flooring and carpet needs. Vast selection of wood, tile, carpet, and vinyl plank flooring. Their knowledgeable staff can help you with what fits and what you're trying to do to brighten something up or just change the look. It's Stephanie, Katie, and Selena, and John. It's Home Place Interiors. 5-star reviews throughout their website, homeplaceinteriorstx.com, and on Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Score big on your next ride during the Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Car. Score your biggest savings of the year right now on Buick. Get a 3-row 2026 Buick Enclave and save $8,500. Or non-GM owners can save $6,750 on all 2026 Buick Envisions in stock. Get here now or go online and save thousands on Buick at Richard Car. Find championship savings and win on your next deal at their Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Car.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
Somebody in the chat room asked, as we get to a business question on alcohol sales in stadiums, Matt Brown did an update at the end of last year that A&M made nearly $5 million in revenue. LSU was next, shocking, at $3.7 million. Nebraska, which had just started, at just over $3 million. But most of the larger stadiums who do that, sell beer, it's going to be $2, $3, or $4 million, and some of the mid-tier programs, based on capacity, is probably going to be in the $500,000 to maybe $1 million a year in revenue.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State will make like $1 million to $2 million, I would guess. If I had to put a bet on it, I'd say
Texas Tech last year made $1.6 million, as just a reference.
So yeah, $1 to $2 million is what I would expect them to bring in. So that's a year of a really, really good player, or maybe you divvy that up, and I don't know, however they decide to do that, reinvest it. That's an extra $1 million plus that they didn't have otherwise, and every dollar counts these days, even for the biggest of schools. That's why you see LSU having these meetings with their alumni, their very special alumni that are exploring the various avenues. It's not private equity, but it kind of smells like something in the same neighborhood of private equity, but we're just talking. But if LSU's doing that, if LSU's kicking the tires on, like, how can we bring more money in when they bring in as much as anybody?
Then you know.
Then everybody's scraping for every dollar. And so, yeah, another $1.5 million, $2 million for Iowa State. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And plus, just I'm sure the fans will love every bit of that. Now, security, on the other hand, will probably feel differently. But
I don't see Wisconsin on this list. I know that they are way up on top of the list. I don't see them listed. For example, Big 12 schools, Tech, I mentioned $1.6 million. Again, this could change from year to year. K-State, $1.6 million. West Virginia, $1.2 million. Ask Michael DeHart, you need to get them moving on that so you can get better. Oklahoma State, just over $700,000. Those are just some examples from the Big 12. But Texas A&M at the top, $4.7 million in booze revenue.
That's 4.7. I mean, I know they got a lot of fans there and they sell out every game, but to have like triple what other schools have when you don't have triple the attendance necessarily, maybe you do overall. Maybe that's where but that's a lot of damn
they're
money,
in that
man.
107, 110 now range.
So, yeah, I mean, that's an extra 50 compared to some Big 12 schools. So, over 6-7 home games, 50,000 plus extra people. Although I guess the math will probably get you there. But that's a hell of a lot of money, man. Nearly $5 million just off alcohol sales.
Florida's John Summerall, first-year head coach there, is named Aaron Philo as the starting quarterback. He will debut against Florida Atlantic week 1. He's a Georgia Tech transfer and has some familiarity with the offense because of Buster Faulkner, the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, is now a part of the Florida staff.
Yeah, I'm excited seeing all these starting quarterback announcements. Some of them kind of no-brainers. I feel like Philo's the guy you've been expecting since he transferred to Gainesville, and because of the connection that you just mentioned. In particular, he seems like the logical choice to be the starter for the Gators. So got to see quite a bit of him given Haynes King's health issues.
Yeah.
We saw Philo a lot at Georgia Tech, and really solid player. Obviously knows the offense really well, and not one of those QBs that you got to like knock the rust off or dip their feet into the system. Like, he's played a bunch. He knows the X's and O's part of it. And I think it's a matter of what you surround him with and what he's able to go out there and do, knowing that he's the guy week in and week out. But yeah, he had no shortage of opportunities given that Haynes King played a lot, but he's also hurt so much. So I think Philo is a really good pickup for Summerall, and I think that's going to be really solid for them and an upgrade over last year pretty much across the board, which I know, how could you not pretty much have an upgrade across the board at Florida? But it does feel like they're getting some early buzz. People aren't trying to push them too far out front because there's just so many more knowns in that league in particular, but there's some, I think, cautious optimism about the Gators.
But they're not overmodulated optimism.
Right. That's why I say cautious optimism.
They're in the top 25. They weren't ranked, where last year I think they were like 13 or 14. So just cautious optimism. Northwestern, here's a guy that's been around quite a bit. Aiden Childs has become the number 1 quarterback for Pat Fitzgerald and his football team. Of course, he's been at Michigan State. Didn't he stay at Oregon State? And he also initially was with Texas as well, I believe. Am I right, Aiden Childs?
Thinking of John Childs from like 25 years ago.
I am. This guy's 10 years older. Well, I got the Childs part of it
John
right.
Childs probably has a kid in college right now.
It might be his son. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Craig.
I am too, actually.
Preston Stone was the quarterback last year at Northwestern. So Aiden Childs, Michigan State. He started, 21 games at Michigan State, and he'll take over as the QB at Northwestern.
I mean, yeah, he's a solid enough player. Obviously has played quite a bit, and we'll see. I mean, he's good. I don't have any like big expectations beyond just being solid at his best. I just haven't watched a bit of him at Michigan State and Oregon State. He's fine, but yeah, we'll see how it works out there in Illinois, and gets to play in a beautiful stadium, and a guy who hope makes the most of this opportunity because you're running out of opportunity. I'm very curious how this works out for them, but solid. Just don't expect anything spectacular.
LSU transfer Michael Van Buren named as the starting quarterback at USF, and of course. That's Brian Hartline, the former assistant coach, longtime great recruiter at Ohio State. And Michael Van Buren gets this opportunity to take the job at USF for the Bulls.
Wow. So, it's kind of crazy. I've been talking about him for, his time at LSU, or was it Mississippi State? And now he's at USF. Man, it's just hard to keep track of where everybody is nowadays. Like, all these quarterbacks we're talking about.
I would think on average, everyone's played 3 teams.
3 teams?
Yeah.
Bare minimum, if you're a quarterback, I would think that the average for that position specifically is probably 3 teams is what you end up with when all is said and done. So I know there's a lot of I guess, what would you say, positives about Michael Van Buren as far as some of his skill set, but obviously is not really shown that much in his 2 stints that we've been able to see him at Mississippi State and LSU. So South Florida, a little bit of a drop down. No disrespect to the Bulls, but just it's different going from the SEC to going and playing at USF. So maybe he's in a spot that's better for him. Maybe he's just at a better point in his career, but good luck to him.
All right, Byron Brown was at USF. He's now with Alex Golesh, his former head coach at USF. And now at Auburn, he's going to be the QB1. That's who will open up the season against Baylor in Atlanta. He said that, in fact, Alex Golesh said this, that Byron Brown, his quarterback, gets to the facility before his head coach in the morning. If he does, he will put the quote, "Hope you're sleeping well." So you know those two have a great rapport because they've been together. And also, Golesh, I mentioned this, said that they're further ahead at Auburn than he was at any other place where he's taken over a team because of Byron Brown. Not just Byron Brown, but because the quarterback is somebody familiar with the system they're running at Auburn.
Well, I think Michael Van Buren's a great replacement for Byron Brown. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing some of these guys. It's just like when you're on your third school and we've seen little flashes here and there, it's just like I don't want to get too crazy as far as expectations go, but I think Van Buren's super solid for USF. He did some really good things at Mississippi State, some exciting things. We just haven't seen it all put together. So maybe that'll happen in Tampa. And similar for Aiden Childs, who going back to him was very electric at times for Oregon State, first laying eyes on him and really excited about his future. And then obviously Michigan State wasn't really good for anybody a year ago. So new scenery for him. And yeah, I mean, 2 players who have talent amongst these various other guys we've talked about that I think maybe will greatly benefit from change in scenery, and excited to see that for them, and very excited to see Byron Brown, who does not have those question marks. Just a matter of what does it look like now just transferring this over to Auburn with your head coach. And so, yeah, I think what?
No, I was looking at John Childs, how long ago it was he played.
Well, I mean, I don't
nearly
like mock
20 years ago. No, it's just
to
me.
To do it and be
I'm
mean.
the crazy uncle.
That's just like that's such a dated reference. It's like, man,
I thought it was sweet to bring him up.
John Childs is on Social Security now, but
hey,
never mind. So with Byron Brown, we've seen him do it and really do it consistently, and he was really good last year, and they were a great team, and I'm really curious how that all translates to Auburn, Alabama, and I think that first game in Atlanta with Auburn and Baylor, that'll be a really interesting game for both sides.
I think it will be too. And this note on Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy at Big Ten SEC Media Days, Drinkwitz was mentioning how he was on pace, but he's not going to start the year. He got shot. I mean, he suffered a gunshot wound. Most likely will miss the entire month of September. Told reporters that he was medically cleared back during SEC Media Days, but the target return is sometime in mid-September. 1,649 yards. Last year was a sophomore, and only trailed Jacksonville State's Cam Cook, who had 10 more yards than he did. He's an explosive player. I watched highlights of him when this story came out about 4, 5, or 8 days ago about him missing most of September, and he's just an electric player from Mizzou.
I'm glad he's healthy enough to be alive. I mean, we could be talking about a really tragic story in terms of Ahmad Hardy, so the fact that we're even talking about the possibility of him playing football is pretty amazing, and obviously he's got to feel incredibly lucky and fortunate in so many ways because there's other stories from this offseason of guys not making it out of it, and I mean, for him to not only to keep his life in something so terrifying like that situation, and then to be healthy enough on the other side to then only need a few months of recovery is I'm sure it's been tough, but that's incredible. That's great. Just from a football perspective, he's one of the best players in America on paper. It's just I think the question marks about what does it look like him coming back from that trauma. But if the doctors are signing off and he's looking like Ahmad Hardy, then that's incredible news for Missouri and rough news for the people, especially on the back half of their schedule potentially. So look forward to seeing updates and as soon as he can get back.
Yeah, good luck to him. Fantastic player from Mizzou and a great player overall to watch. We're going to come back. Craig Smoak off the radar. John McClain is just around the corner. We do appreciate your time. If you have not subscribed, we'd appreciate it if you do. If you hit the like button or not, do that. If you haven't, we would appreciate that well. We've got great sponsors, and we have fantastic viewership, and we do appreciate you as we grow methodically day by day. Garrett Ross and Michelangelo Flores running the mothership today, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Bob Mock, 5 locations in Waco, fastest growing pizza brand in America, and Marco's Pizza is there for you where you live. I'm sure wherever it might be. I haven't looked at the coverage map of all the various places they are, but it's the fastest growing pizza brand. Go to Marcos.com no matter where you live, and there's a menu that usually pops up, and most of the time it's going to have 2 or 3 specials. It will have either a pepperoni magnifico or Italian sausage magnifico, and both of those covered with what you want, the pepperoni and or the sausage, and sometimes you combine them like I do with both. You can get the regular crust, or you can get what I like, the thin crust. They have other menu items, including kind of like a bowl that's like a lasagna or sandwiches, wings. They have that too. 5 locations in Waco, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
90 years ago, Berg Ford made a commitment. Not just to sell Fords, but to serve Waco. What began in 1936 wasn't a transaction. It was a partnership built through hard work, quality, and integrity. Mile by mile. For over 4 generations, Berg has been driven by Waco. Thank you for the road we've traveled together and the miles that lay ahead.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need time. Throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps
every time. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome back to 365 Live Sports here. Time for a little Off the Radar, which for those who may be new, we just take a time out to take a little bit of a reprieve from college football, though that does not stop college football from still leaking its way into this segment from time to time. Today, though, we will have some college sports that we'll start off with, but it is not football. It is, however, LSU related. Have you been seeing the talk surrounding Kim Mulkey and a specific roster move for LSU women's basketball? So
yeah, I look at both sides of this in a way, but go ahead.
So it's a very interesting story because it involves Kim Mulkey and LSU women's basketball and a scenario that you're just, no matter what you think, she's certainly a very polarizing figure. There will be people who just see her name in a headline and go, she's wrong. Yeah. And there will be people who see her name in a headline and go, I don't care what evidence there is, she's right. Like, that's just the kind of person that Kim Mulkey is and the universe around her. And I always enjoyed when we had the opportunity to cover her, although didn't always agree. But she is a great fit for current LSU. I was like her. Everybody's pointed this out. I've seen on social media of like the big bad that is LSU with Will Wade and Kim Mulkey and Lane Kiffin. It's just like if you're an LSU fan, it's like the Avengers getting together. Yep. If you are not an LSU fan, it's like the Mutant Brotherhood getting together. It's the bad guys all getting together on the same team. But really interesting story, and be curious to hear your thoughts about how you would handle this if you were Kim Mulkey. But Kate Koval was a player on LSU women's basketball team that was expected to be their starting center. And it was announced that she is actually now leaving the program. So it went from expected starting center to now not on the team any longer. And this news came out yesterday with Kim Mulkey posting a statement online that said, Kate came to see me on Sunday, told me that after much consideration, she will be leaving the program for personal reasons. We will respect her privacy on her decision, but we had a long talk about it, and it was a hard decision for her. I know it is hard because she loves LSU. Kate's a great person. She has to do what she feels is right for her, and we fully support her in that. Wish her all the best. So Koval cannot go into the transfer portal because it's not open currently. So the soonest that she can go join another team is in April, and she has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. So all that's like, okay, whatever. Like maybe you broke up with a boyfriend or something, you wanted to leave. But the reasons as to why are pure speculation, but there's enough to go off of that people are going off of this being the reason. And especially with the timing of just being 2 months away from the actual season starting. So this comes 10 days after LSU announced the signing of Anna Minieva, who is a 6'5" center from Russia. Do you want to take a guess where Koval's from?
I know. I've read
She's
the story.
She's from Ukraine. And so currently, those 2 countries are in the midst of a war that's been going on for 4+ years now and has no end in sight. And so you've got suddenly a scenario where there's a girl from Ukraine on your roster. She's expected to be your starting center, and you just went and signed a girl from Russia, and their countries are at war with each other.
Yeah.
And so last week, Kim Mulkey was interviewed and asked about this very thing, and she said that she discussed that Minieva may potentially join the team, and she discussed that with Koval before the signing was official. And if I'm slightly butchering the pronunciations, I apologize, but didn't get a chance to hear exactly how to pronounce, and I'm usually pretty good about that. But Mulkey said she discussed it with Koval, and she said the following as far as what she told her. I want you to understand, I'm not here to ask you to change how you feel about Russia. I'm just here out of respect for your family and out of respect for you to let you know, because I know how personal it is for you. And then here's the part that's the real humdinger that will make you feel some kind of way, either like, yeah, she nailed it, or like, ooh, this is weird. Know that what I have to do in this business, I cannot make a decision to not recruit somebody that can help our program because of a conflict between 2 countries. And she's right, but it just feels weird to hear that. Like, well, I can't do it. It sounds very familiar. It's like, well, I can't not do it. If I don't get you, somebody else is going to get you, right? She just asked Lane how that goes. Like, I got to go get this girl from Russia. So she said that perhaps the 2 players could serve as ambassadors for friendship amidst this war, like Russia and Ukraine coming together in solidarity in some way. So she acknowledged that they had that talk, and Koval has not come out and said officially what the reason is, but everybody's pretty much following the fingerprints and following the news and going, yeah, that's probably why she's leaving. So she came over, Koval, from Ukraine in 2021, played high school at a school in Long Island, New York, became a 5-star recruit, number 5 prospect in 2023, offers from everywhere, signed with Notre Dame, ACC all-freshman 2 years ago, and then she entered the transfer portal after the Sweet 16 last year, and ended up at LSU, 2 years ago, ended up at LSU, started 17 of 35 games, and had some good stats, and so she's got to wait until April, but Mulkey's got a new Russian to help fill the roster spot, I suppose.
Listen, she has an incredible eye for talent.
Yes.
She has
no
a
doubt.
phenomenal staff that has, some now have gone and moved on, Bill Brock among some others. She's an incredible recruiter. That's why she's won for 20 plus or so years. This is interesting, though, because of the fact, maybe they can be show that they can get along. Those are
as if that really changes anything. Yeah, nothing.
And here's the thing. You can sit there and go, man, that's kind of a harsh comment. She's telling the truth. She's being honest. Sometimes that's a lot of times whenever Kim would get herself that's because she was being honest, and that's who she is. But I feel bad for the girl from Ukraine, but this is not a happy, love, joy. This is to win basketball games. She's right, and it's unfortunate that they both can't play on the same team, but I get exactly why the other one would move on.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, and yeah, we could get some team where an Iranian American and an American or an Israeli American or some version of that, and it's not going to change the war. So I don't know if that was the greatest idea. I understand where Kim was coming, trying to rationalize how they could make it work. And just because your country's at war doesn't mean you can't get along. But yeah, you can also see where it's deeply personal. She's more likely than not had many people that she knows affected by what's going on over there. I'm not going to
her dad is fighting, I believe.
I'm sure he is
with the Ukraine army.
I mean, if you have a heartbeat and a penis, I'm sure you are fighting over there for both sides at this point. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously very deeply personal, and I just find it interesting that Mulkey's just. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to put the best talent on the court, and she's absolutely right. It's like Lane, you can hate it, but you understand it. You may not agree with it, but you understand it, and I don't even know how I feel about this because it's such a unique situation that it's definitely off the radar, which is why I brought it up, and it's just really interesting, and we'll see what happens with Kate Koval, but she will not be available to join another team until sometime in the fall.
She wins. She wins, and she is who she is. She's never going to change. And this girl from Ukraine might be really, really good for somebody else this upcoming season.
She's pretty good, it looks like, for LSU. I won't step out of my comfort zone as far as talking women's basketball and pretend to know too much about her, but put up some okay numbers. So just a glance, not so much the interesting part to me was how good she was. It was just this dynamic that you just don't ever encounter. So. Yep. A weird spot, I'm sure, for Mulkey and staff to be in, but it kind of handled itself, it looks like. And so that's now going to be a story where we see where she ends up going as far as a transfer. So we'll be on her third team, it looks like, Notre Dame, LSU, and now wherever that takes her from there. So meanwhile, Little League World Series is ongoing, and already had one result in the book. Japan 3, Mexico 1. Got 3 more games today. I don't pay as much attention now that we don't have a TV in the studio, the Little League World Series. I feel like that kind of interrupts my coverage of the Little League World Series.
If it was someone else who wanted to watch it, it would be right there front
We'd
and
have the big screen for sure on there. But the Little League World Series is ongoing right now, so if you need some other sports to kind of take up, you got Northwest versus Southeast, I think is actually underway right now. But again, I don't have a TV in front of me. Canada, Asia Pacific later on this evening. Great Lakes and Metro later on tonight. So I did see where the team, what was it?
Bernie?
Yes, Bernie.
Bernie, Texas.
Bernie got beat.
I played against them in high school. Bernie Greyhounds.
Yes, but Bernie was eliminated by Hamilton, Ohio yesterday. So that was the big to-do with the team from Tulsa and the ineligible player and who was going to go, and Bernie ends up going. But the Texas representative there was 0-2. So I'm sure there's some people in Tulsa, Oklahoma going, well, we could have gone up there and done better than that. But you couldn't because you had an ineligible player. So, yeah, Bernie was eliminated by Hamilton yesterday. Meanwhile, we've got the streaming time of year for me coming up where I can kind of cut bait on some of the streamers during the last few months because there might be a show here or there that I care about. So I'll pop in on Hulu to watch the final season of The Bear and then not really worry too much about keeping it or whatever it may be. But I don't have ESPN Unlimited during this time of year.
I got an email about that.
I don't have ESPN Unlimited, but I do have typically the last few years ESPN Plus. And now ESPN's evolved to where it's the unlimited direct-to-consumer package now. And that's where you can get all the WWE pay-per-views. But even with my typical fandom of wrestling, I've been so disinterested that I'm like, I don't even care. I'm not paying $30+ for the WWE pay-per-views like I'm back in 1998 again. Like, you took me to a place where they were $5. I'm not going back to where I'm paying $30, it feels like, every month. But I got to go look into getting ESPN Unlimited for all these college football games that are going to be coming up. So I need to see what that looks like, and in looking into it, saw that the subscription price is going to be increasing by a couple of dollars.
I was going to bring that up. I got that email yesterday.
So $32 per month.
Just like paper cuts.
$32 per month.
Used to be like what, 17?
$2 increase from the $30 price, as I mentioned. So yeah, $30 to $32 now, starting on September the 17th. And so that's just a $2 bump. But again, yeah, it's like paper cuts. The annual subscription will go from $300 to $320. And I'm sure they won't be done there. ESPN Plus will also go up by $1 if you want to stick to like kind of the generic just to get the college football games. Again, I need to go look and see how all that's going to work and what they put on
right before
Unlimited.
Football season.
Of course. When else are you going to do it? I mean, that's smart business. But that's also going up by $1. The annual fee will go up by $10. So if you haven't checked in, maybe you're just always subscribed and you don't care. Money's not an issue. But for those of you who are like me who, I'm not just going to burn $30 and never watch a single second of it. I know I'm going to watch a lot of it upcoming on ESPN because of all the games and stuff. So I'm going to have to swallow the price of this somehow or another. But I just don't think the streaming thing's sustainable for much longer. I just think people are starting to kind of get to the point where it's like, I'm paying the same amount, if not more, for this than I paid for cable. And all the on-demand stuff, like all the movies I ever wanted and the old TV shows, like HBO Max is great because I can go watch Deadwood whenever I want to. So I do appreciate that and will pay for stuff like that. But man alive, it's more than my cable bill. Like if I put all the streamers I typically watch, it is easily more than my cable bill.
I do it because I have a hellacious deal with Spectrum that they gave me when I was going to cut them a while back, and they were like, well, we don't want to see you leave. I go, I'm sorry, I was paying $300 and some for that. And so I have internet. I have a very low deal with Spectrum. You know, I realize I don't watch a lot of cable TV. I watch YouTube TV. That, of course, has slightly gone up, about $15, $20, $25. I have cable with an extraordinary deal that they gave me.
It better be like almost nothing extraordinary.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah, because you don't need both.
No, I don't. And but I've noticed that ESPN Plus up a couple of hours. And then Netflix, which I love Netflix and also Paramount. But you're right. You start, if you add them all together, how much of it is per month? And it seemed like to me that it's happening more than just once or twice a year.
Well, I had another one that popped up the other day. It was going, I don't remember what it was, HBO Max or Peacock or something. And on Peacock, I had a deal where I tried to cancel, and they're like, here, it's $3 every month for like 6 months. And I was like, okay. But now it's about to roll back around, and I think they went up by like $1 maybe. So I'm like, do I want to pay for just the Big Ten game every week and the NFL game, the NFL weekly game? So, my cable spending or TV spending is about to go up on the streamers, but they're also raising the prices. So, just get ready for that if you start to do like I'm doing and getting ready to get everything, all your ducks in a row to be able to watch everything here over the next few months. And then final thing, Very small note here, but we're both fans of Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
We both know his father. We both know the family really well, and both know Patrick. And great young dude. Covered him in high school. He went down with an ACL injury last December, and just news today that he is everything is going according to plan. He's getting all the reps that he needs. He's getting ready for the start of the season and feels like he's fully prepared. He's told is initially going to take 9 months to recover. Went into surgery on December 16th and on December 16th and September 16th, which is upcoming, will be exactly 9 months. So he's ahead of schedule, just slightly. No surprise with Bobby Stroop, I'm sure, at his side, helping him get ready. But he said that this has all gone according to plan, and so he's ready to go. And I'm excited to see, because before the injury, there was this feeling like he was going to win 17 Super Bowls, I feel like. And then you had them not win it for once, or at least what felt like for once, right, a couple years ago. And he gets hurt as well, and you're like, mate, this is why guys don't win 17 Super Bowls, is because life happens and other teams can get good or injuries occur. And so now, because there's been like a very slight drought for his standards, it's like, ooh, how many can he win now? Like, that's the question again, rather than, oh, he's going to win 17 of them. It's like, can he reach Brady still? And so I'm very curious just to see how he looks in general. I'm sure fantasy fans are more excited than anybody to see how he looks, knowing the kind of points that he can put up on any given Sunday. But, looking forward to seeing Patrick Mahomes back and healthy, and good luck to him this season.
Well, it's good to have him back. He's a star, and there's a reason. Father Time, injuries, whatever, the attrition of that sport eventually is going to – you're not going to just rip off 6 in a row. Not even Brady did that. You know, Brady had only once when he went back-to-back. Bradshaw did it twice in the 70s. It's just hard to do. It's hard to win back-to-back, and glad that he's healthy. Love the guy. Young man is fantastic, and wish him the best of luck and also a great year. When we come, anything else?
Oh, no. I mean, if he's not ready by week 1 because he hasn't been officially cleared, that's all part of the deal, though. If he's not clear, then Justin Fields would be the starter for Kansas City. That much we do know, but things are tracking really well for him.
How about this, boys and girls, Craig? Disney Plus is now $11.99 a month. It was, when it launched, $7.99 a month. Okay, that's $4. But Disney Plus ad-free premium, $18.99 a month. It was at $6.99 a month.
Well, if you're paying for, but if they're going to really get you over the premium stuff.
Yeah. Hulu with ads, $9.99 a month. It was $5.99 a month. Hulu ad-free, which you're going to pay for that, $18.99 a month. It was $11.99. ESPN Select, now $13.99. It was $4.99. ESPN Unlimited, which is the cable, etc., streaming, $31.99 a month, and it was $29.99 a month in 2025. So a little $2 and $4 and $5 increments.
Well, if you have them all, that's another $20 a year, which or $20 a month, which is a couple $100 a year. Which for some people that's well worth it, especially those that we know someone watch TV all the time, watch everything that is able to be watched. For someone like me, it's a little bit more selective. Yeah, I don't need all that stuff, and I'm not going to just eat every price increase.
You know what I've realized about YouTube TV? We got a break for John McClain. Is that when I turn on, your room to get your name, it goes to like 5 or 6 things, and all of them are what I normally watch. Like it knows. It's not this scrolling through 50 to 150 channels.
Yeah, because it's following everything that you do.
It's even like watching what I eat for breakfast or something.
Yeah, it's like your iPhone knows when to wake up because
I know
it tracks you. Yes,
I know.
Yeah.
When we come back, John McClain, the Hall of Famer, we appreciate your time. This is 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get summer ready in a new Jeep Wrangler Sport. Your choice, 0% for 36 months or just $33,848. Want more truck and more fun? Check out the 2026 Jeep Gladiator Mojave. Your choice, 0% for 36 months or save $10,000. Take the top off and hit the road. Allen Samuels Jeep.
Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
We are back in the studio. Craig will rejoin us in just a second, and we appreciate your time. And Hall of Famer John McClain every Tuesday around 5 o'clock joins us. And John, we're hitting you a little early. By God, we are going to have you. We get you on too late sometimes because everything seems to push back. Thank you, sir, for being here. What are your thoughts about all this back and forth now with players who have been in mini camps or at training camps or whatever, college football players headed back to college?
I'm like everybody else, David. I don't like it. I like what the Big Ten's done, that they're not going to accept anybody who's signed a pro contract. But you know what? All somebody has to do is to get a judge to see if they can break that. These state judges are unbelievable. Their hometown teams, probably a lot of them are graduated from there, and they get voted or appointed by people, big shots at the state level. It's amazing what they're doing. I don't even know if Congress gets involved and passes this bill, you can still get a judge. Anybody can sue anybody. So I think it's bad. I feel bad the kid's been playing tight end at LSU, working their tail off out in the heat of Baton Rouge, and all of a sudden told, hey, we got a guy coming down from the Cleveland Browns. You're going to lose your scholarship or you're going to be off the team because he's going to start and the starter's going to drop down. It's a trickle-down effect. I think it's terrible. I hope the Big 12 has some integrity. We know the SEC doesn't, never has. And that's why it's the best conference, along with the Big 10 now. But I wish they would all pass that rule.
I asked him about the stuff going on now, back and forth.
Yeah, John, it seems like the NFL's kind of let college football have to deal with its own problems. They're like, it's not our issue. Just bring us the players when they're ready to go. But are we kind of getting to a point where even the NFL is kind of go like, do we need to do something here? Like, is there something that we need to do? Like,
nothing they can do.
Yeah.
That's about being a collectively bargain. You know, the NFL's got nothing to do with it. The only way you could control it and have the right rules is if you had a union. Can you imagine how hard that would be to get every kid that played college football to join a union and pay dues? I don't know that that'll ever happen. People seem to think that's the answer, but I just don't see it. You know, the NCAA had its footballs cut off, can't do squat, gets challenged on everything. But I think this is ridiculous. And of course, it's Lane Kiffin and LSU are the ones that are doing it. Lane Kiffin says everybody's doing it. No, everybody's not doing it. LSU is doing it. So anyway, I want players to have a chance to make money. You know, it's not the NIL part; it's the portal part. It's the transfers. It's the judges at the state level. Everything's been made a mockery of college football, but we're all excited. I know I'm pumped up about those Fighting Baylor Bears. I want college football to start tomorrow, and the product on the field is still going to be great. Those college coaches, what they have to deal with today, with players constantly coming and going and rules and everything, and they do a great job. I don't know how they do it. At least the NFL has free agency every 4 years. College football has it every year.
I actually feel like the coaches are now more than earning their money, whereas before you could say like some of the contracts were getting sort of ridiculous. But now with what all you have to do, I feel like, okay, yeah, I can see you getting paid $12 million a year because you got to deal with all this nonsense, 200, or 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I'd love to know, Craig, what every school in the country, how many are in the department that oversees NIL and the portal? How much do they spend on that? Like Texas and A&M, or do they employ 20 people and spend $10 million to pay them? Does another school employ 5? And it's fascinating to watch. At some point, we're going to look back on it and we're going to go, wow, that all really happened. And I tell you what, it's still fun to watch. Some great teams, great players, great quarterbacks. I can't wait till it gets started.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I guess the reason I asked about the NFL is I know there's nothing they can do specifically, but depending on how some of these rules are held up, I'm just imagining we're really not that far from a guy getting drafted in like the 7th round, getting cut, not making the team, and then trying to go back to college. Like I know there's specifics that are involved, but it feels like we're not that far away if something doesn't break the NCAA's way here pretty soon. But John, one of the things, are you excited for the new Baylor uniforms that were unveiled the other day? What'd you think of those?
First of all, I know fans get fired up, media gets fired up. I've never cared about uniforms. I only care about who's wearing them and how they play. The uniforms look a lot better when they win. They don't look so good when they lose. The AFC South and NFC North, they unveiled rivalry uniforms this morning. The NFL allows two divisions a year to do it. The Titans, has Texans, it's as Columbia blue, but they call it H-Town blue because they want to drive the Titans nuts and they want to drive the fans and the media nuts. It's uniform wars, and if the game on the field between the Texans and Titans ever gets anywhere as intense as uniform wars, they're going to have a great rivalry. Right now, it's all between the owners, Amy Adams Strunk, Hannah McNair, and the colors. But I love them. And if you look at the Titans and the Texans both together, you can't see a difference. And I like the launch videos all those teams put out. And yes, I like Baylor. I'm a traditionalist. There's a lot of uniforms I've watched Baylor wear since 1960 when I went to my first game as a Cub Scout. And I remember liking them a whole lot better when they win.
All right, now you call them what I call them, Columbia Blue. That's the old Oilers, right? That's the
right.
Yeah, okay.
It's H-Town blue.
Okay, all right. I saw that little back and forth. You were doing that on your timeline. You mentioned ownership, whatever. What's going to happen? What's the deal with Jed York? Is he going to get suspended, fined, what?
Well, first of all, his attorneys will say, now, wait, whoa. Robert Kraft didn't get suspended. Fines don't mean jack to those guys. They're multi-billionaires. And I'm glad to find out he filed for divorce, if he's married, he's not going to be married long. Because I always think what this does to the wife and the kids, how embarrassing. And from now on, when we hear Jed York, we're going to think a trailer park, $140. There's memes all over the internet. Some of them are so funny. One of them showed we should have suspected, and it was a 49ers plane in the middle of a bunch of trailers. And some of the people are so clever. And Robert Kraft, because he was a mover and shaker of the NFL and still is, I thought his came and went. It was embarrassing for a while. Maybe it's because he's older, maybe because he's more important to the NFL, but it wouldn't surprise me. You can't make an owner sell. You can't do like Donald Sterling in the NBA and they force you to sell. But Jed York, he's humiliated. He'll probably say he's going to go get treatment and he'll apologize and say I screwed up. But it's never going to go away.
Well, Mike Vrabel, he didn't get suspended or anything, right? When all the accusations and that story, right? So Can they do
You know,
anything?
one thing the NFL, and this is all pro sports, and this sounds terrible, but it's true. Guys who make the rules and deal out the punishment are very, very forgiving when it comes to men and what men do with or to women. There's players in the NFL who've got videos of them kicking women on the floor in the head. We've got them punching a pregnant woman. We've got Tyreek Hill getting suspended from Oklahoma State and then going on and making hundreds of millions of dollars if you can help them. And I think the league will do something to Jed York. It's interesting to me. His uncle Eddie DeBartolo Jr., who's the best owner I've ever seen in professional sports. You know, he did a deal for a casino with Eddie Edwards, gave I think $400 million, and he got suspended for a year. And while he was suspended, his sister Denise DeBartolo York, she took over the 49ers. Yeah. He took over the business empire. She took over the 49ers, and now her son has been humiliated. And they suspended him a year. We'll never see that again, I don't think. And if it is, it'll be for an owner like that who doesn't mean much at the way the NFL operates. Certainly not a Robert Kraft. You know, Jerry Jones still got some lawsuit going against him. But we are a very forgiving society when it comes to men and women.
John, hated to see the injury news with Jaden Higgins and him getting hurt the other day. The former Iowa State star had a pretty good year last year. I mean, it was solid, and they obviously need to go and help fill the shoes, and they trade for Kayshon Boutte. Your thoughts on Higgins going down and how unfortunate that is, but also how the Texans are trying to respond and what it means?
Texans had high hopes for Higgins and still do, of course. It's an ACL. He'll be back probably for the start of training camp next season. It happened on non-contact play when he was in the back of the end zone running a route in a joint practice against the Ravens. Now, Boutte, when he was, he had a great game against the Texans in the playoffs. Derek Stingley Jr., one of the top two corners in the NFL, has allowed 2 of the 3 touchdowns scored against him have been Kayshon Boutte, his former teammate at LSU. Boutte's 24 years old. He's in the last year of his contract. It is a great deal. You get him for safety who might have been on the practice squad, Jalen Reed, and then you get a 7th-round pick in 28 that you own from New Orleans. That was a good deal. You get a hungry player. Every game, every play, Boutte will be auditioning because he wants a big contract. Say he plays great. Then they could re-sign him. Higgins is on his rookie deal for 2 more years. So I think this is a good deal for the Texans. Boutte averaged 16.7 yards per catch last year. I think that was 4th or 5th in the NFL. He had really good performance in the playoffs, and they get him when he's hungry. And you know his agents remind him every week, you are on an auditioning round of the NFL, and everything you do could help you make money. Great time to get a young player.
Yes, and thank you for reminding me that it is Boutte. It's not Boutte, as I said, but I know that for a long time there was...
It looks like Boutte. That's what I used to call him. And I'll tell you what, Boutte kicked the Texans Boutte in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I remember there was a lot of confusion during his career, and I think he came out at one point, like, I don't know, a while back and was like, no, it's Boutte. So, yeah, no, I need to correct my brain on how to pronounce that as well. So, glad you did.
All right, last thing. Dolly Parton, 80 years old, passed away, icon. You are someone that's, like I saw where you're going to do a documentary on Dan Pastorini and all that, but your thoughts, John, on Dolly Parton?
I remember when I was in high school in Waco, there was a company there that had these great imitators in a commercial. And it was about, they had her going, Porter, come over here and squeeze these things. And I'm like, who is that? What are they talking about? And it had something to do with fruit. And then when I looked up Dolly Parton in a magazine, I knew what they were insinuating Porter was squeezing. And I started thinking that it was a great commercial. It was on all the time. And then I heard her music, and I saw today that she wrote in one day I Will Always Love You and Jolene in the same day, two of the greatest songs in history. Nobody ever said anything bad about Dolly Parton. Everybody loved her. I remember, was it 2 years ago when she was in the Cowboys show dressed up like a cowboy cheerleader and she ate it up? People loved her. And it was a sad day. I didn't know she was ill. And it's a sad day, not just in country music, but music all over the country.
Yeah, she was somebody that seemed like everybody really did truly loved her, and rarely ever heard anything unless it was just some kind of a pot shot or whatever. But what a phenomenal.
No, you didn't even hear that about Dolly. Nobody took pot shots at Dolly. She was about as clean and well universally liked as anybody could
I
be.
never heard anybody say anything about her or her music. Truth is, they made fun of her boobs, and she loved it because at first that's what she was known for. And then everybody took her music transcended country, and it appealed to everybody. One of the all-time great songwriters came from nothing. I would recommend to people in your listening area, if you ever get a chance, to go to Eastern Tennessee to Dollywood, beautiful mountains and country. You will have a blast.
Yeah, best friend has place up in Sevierville, the mountains, and that's like where she was. That's the Dolly world, and like you said, a phenomenal. And that Cowboys performance, she knocked that out of the park. She's unbelievable. Yep, fantastic. John, thank you, sir.
Guys, thank you very much, and sick 'em Bears.
John McClain, we got a lot more time with him. Kept the clock moving well, but wanted to get him. And the thing with York, the San Francisco owner, man, that's a wild story. Well, Rez, Michelangelo Flores is now the only one in the building, along with the two of us, Craig Smoak, and also Garrett starts the day early, and he's on his way home. Here is our time to spin the wheel.
All right, what do we have here? Are you an overpacker who prepares for every scenario, or a one backpack and hope for the best traveler?
Oh God!
I'm somebody who pretty much overpacked all the time until recently. I've tried to be a lot better, and if I need to go buy another pair of socks or something, then I'll just go to Target and buy a pair of socks. But I don't need to pack 6 pairs for a 2-day weekend and try to think, well, maybe if I take a shower. Like I've done that. I've definitely overpacked, overthought it. I try to go as light as possible now and hope for the best.
I'm an overpacker. I don't know why. Like when we went to Utah, that's 5 days. That's a lot because we were gonna, of course, play golf and then go home, shower, and then go out, have something to eat. So I probably packed a little bit too much. But I'm an overpacker, and I just have this one suitcase. I just leave everything in it, like all the things you need, the utensils and you whatever. I have like 2 or 3 of each one. That stays in the luggage. I just got to put in the socks, the underwear, and whatever else. So I'm an overpacker, but not much, not too much. All right, Rez, is that it with Andrew on hiatus? Okay. Well, Craig, anything you want to wrap up? We'll be back tomorrow. Trey Wallace, of course, will join us, and a couple of other guests that we'll have for you when we get there.
No, I mean, I withheld on asking John what the latest is in the AL West standings.
Yeah, that was nice of you.
Because the Rangers are only up by half a game now. John has thrown some shots here and there, so I thought maybe we'd jab back, but let's see how the next week goes and have fun with that. And, yeah, rest in peace, Dolly Parton, absolute legend. Absolute legend. All your dang papers. An absolute legend with so many classics, and just a wonderful person from all indications, and just a real loss for the music and the art and the world community out there, because she was truly one of a kind. So rest in peace, Dolly. It's the end of an era. But, man, she gave us a lot while she was here.
Yes, Michael, Art, I was last in Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, 1995 with the family, 2 weeks vacation. Unbelievable. Yeah, everybody, R.I.P. Dolly, and much more.
Beautiful part of the country.
Yeah, Paxton is saying this, that some flags are at half-mast. I don't know if that's from
I believe our
the
president
governor
ordered that.
or the President Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Rez. Appreciate your time. Thanks to our great sponsors. Back at it again tomorrow at 3. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. The Smoak Show on 365 Sports. Have a great night.